The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to explore and explain key features of texts and how they contribute to meaning. Learners should be able to identify and explain the purpose, structure, and language use in texts.
Hi, my name is Megan. In this series of lessons, we are going to be looking at evaluating and comparing texts, and we are going to use these as our tools for analysis. We are going to be learning about attitude, tone, style, and register. Learning how to analyze and compare texts is a useful skill because when you are doing research, you will be faced with many different texts on the same subject. If you know how to analyze and compare them, you will be able to work out which texts are most suitable for your purposes. In this series of lessons, we're not just going to be learning definitions, we are going to be putting them into practice by analyzing and comparing different texts that are on the same subject but that were written by different writers and for different purposes. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to define attitude, tone, register, and style, and comment on these features in texts. You are bombarded with texts on a daily basis. You read magazines and newspaper articles. You see advertising billboards and watch television. You see so many texts that you have to be able to evaluate if the message that is being conveyed is relevant to you. Doing this will also help to make you a more informed and critical reader, as you will be able to see how different writers approach the same topic. A definition that you're going to need to know when analyzing texts is attitude. Attitude is the point of view which the writer holds. It is indicated by the tone, register, and style adopted. Attitude is determined by a number of factors that we are going to discuss in turn. But for now, here is a question to ask that will help you determine the writer's general attitude. Is the writer's viewpoint balanced or biased towards one side? Sometimes a writer's attitude is easy to detect, but at other times you will have to read quite carefully to work out what it is. Attitude is determined by three factors: tone, register, and style. Tone is the mood or feeling conveyed in a piece of writing or an utterance. To determine the tone of a piece of writing, ask yourself the following question: is the text humorous, sincere, enthusiastic, mocking, or scornful? As you can see, tone is described using an adjective. There are lots of adjectives that you can use to describe tone. So the more adjectives that you know, the more accurately you will be able to describe the tone of an article. Another factor to consider when analyzing and comparing texts is what register has been used. Register is the type of language that is appropriate for use in a certain situation. Broadly speaking, register can be divided into formal register and informal register. You would use informal register when chatting to your friends. It's relaxed and casual. Formal register is used in important situations or in speaking to important people. Are the style, diction, and tone of this article suitable for the intention and context of the text? Determining the register of a text or an article will help you to determine if it was written to amuse and entertain people or if it was written to be taken seriously and as fact. Now, we've talked a lot about how you must look and see if the style was appropriate for the situation, but what exactly is style? Style is the way in which a text has been constructed or expressed through the use of language. Diction, tone, and register all make up a writer's style. Style acts as an umbrella concept because there are lots of different factors that combine to form the style of a text. When you are examining an article and are asked to determine the style, ask yourself this question. What form of communication has been used, and is it suitable for the audience and purpose of the text? Is the text formal or informal? So far in this lesson, we've learnt a lot of definitions, but knowing the definition is of no use if you can't put it into practice. So that's what we're going to do now. We're now going to look at an article taken from the lifestyle section of the Sunday Times newspaper. In it, journalist Charlotte Bauer has a look at Be Positive Day. As we read extracts from this article, pay close attention to the style that has been used. Come on, own up. Who didn't know that Friday, November 1st, was the country's second annual Be Positive Day? This is a day, apparently sanctioned by our national leaders, on which we are urged to declare ourselves whinge-free zones and focus on our achievements rather than moan about our challenges. What mood or feeling is being conveyed in this paragraph? The whole article is about Be Positive Day, yet Charlotte Bauer begins this article by making out as if few people would even know what it is. Can you think of adjectives that would be used to describe the tone? The tone would be sarcastic. She is mocking the day and the people who devised it. Now let's consider the register that has been used. The phrase, come on, own up, is the type of thing that you would jokingly say to friends. She also uses a rhetorical question. She is not actually expecting people to write in and tell her whether or not they knew it was Be Positive Day. We've already looked at the first paragraph, but now let's consider the writer's diction, her choice of words. When she says apparently sanctioned, she is adding an element of doubt. Apparently implies that she has heard this is true, but cannot say for certain. Also, to be urged indicates that people have to be lured into being positive. It is not a state that people are naturally in. The word whinge is normally used to describe the actions of children who whine and complain. In this article, Charlotte Bauer has used the term whinge-free zone in inverted commas to make sure that you realize that this is not a term that she would use, but rather it is something that the organizers are urging the public to do, as if they were children. The last feature we need to consider is the style that has been used. Bauer is critical of Be Positive Day. However, it is a light-hearted criticism. She mocks it in a sarcastic way. In this article, the clues were the writer's use of words, the use of a rhetorical question, and her use of inverted commas. All of these features combined to convey the writer's attitude about Be Positive Day. To be fair, the Be Positive folk aren't the sole culprits. I'm willing to take bets that the most commonly used word in South African media circulation right now is celebrate. The way that Bauer names and describes the people who devised the Be Positive campaign is also interesting. What are the connotations of the word folk? Folk might be a synonym for people, but it is not a neutral word. It implies that the people are simple or naive. Also, she refers to them as culprits. Culprits is a word that is usually used to describe guilty people. What about her discussion of the word celebrate? This word is usually associated with positive connotations, but she places it in a negative light by implying that it is overused. She then goes on. The cult of celebration skips along hand in hand with sunshine sermonizing, that banal twin of life sucks journalism. Both leave media consumers with the impression that there is no thought or action more subtle, nothing more complex in our national life than fairy tale good or evil, positive or negative. Smell the coffee already. The diction in this paragraph is particularly interesting. What do you think of when you hear the word cult? Here's a dictionary definition. A cult is a system of religious worship, especially as expressed in ritual, devotion, or homage to a person or thing. So by calling the Be Positive campaign a cult of celebration, Bauer is making out that it is an extreme group. What is meant by sunshine sermonizing? If you get a term like sunshine sermonizing that you don't understand, a good technique to use is to break it down. To begin with, sunshine means direct light of sun, area illuminated by it, fair weather, cheerfulness, or bright influence. And then sermonizing means to deliver a moral lecture. The next interesting bit of diction in this passage is Charlotte Bauer describing being positive as the banal twin of life sucks journalism. What does this word mean? It means obvious and dull, trivial conversation, or commonplace prose. Basically, what Bauer is saying is that most journalism is either very positive or very negative. Bauer ends this article with an informal idiom, wake up and smell the coffee. Do you know what an idiom is? Here's a definition. An idiom is a form of expression or usage peculiar to a language, especially one whose meaning is not given by those of its separate words. Language of a people, characteristics, mode of expression in art, etc. Now we realize that Bauer has actually made some important points, although she's used a chatty and informal style. She is challenging the mindset of journalists who present news as either being extremely positive or extremely negative. The techniques that we've used to analyze this column can be applied to any article or text that you are given. Remember to look out for the following features: attitude, tone, style, and register. It's now time for you to put into practice these techniques. I was alerted to Be Positive Day by its wanton use of capital letters, an act of emotional desperation only redeemed by the absence of an exclamation mark. Analyze the sentence, paying attention to the attitude, tone, style, and register that have been used. You should be able to write at least a sentence on each of those features. We've come to the end of today's lesson, but if you can put these techniques into practice when you encounter any text, soon you will be a much more informed and critical reader. Please join me again next time. Goodbye.